Hi, good morning. We're going to get started for our event today. My name is Bob Sandemy. I am the Deputy Finance Director for the city, and really excited to see so many people out today, some of our citizens, and we have a lot of folks from city government here as well today. This is our first resident budget forum. This is an opportunity for citizens to come and hear a lot of information about the budget and for us to hear their feedback about the budget. So before we jump into the details, I want to first introduce Mayor Brandon Scott. He's going to have a couple of opening comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Bob, and good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for being here and a part of this community budget forum. I will say, I guess everybody missed the Purple January memo but me today. But Madam Commissioner, thank you very much. And thank you for your section of the video. It was great. Thank you very much. Budgets, as I always say, are a reflection of our priorities. And I am so grateful that you all are here today to make sure that your voice is heard as we outline our priorities next year. Since day one of my administration, we've been working to correct a lot of historical wrongs. Many of that impacted neighborhoods like this one in West Baltimore, South Baltimore, for generations. Treating gun violence as a disease and treating it comprehensively as a public health issue, investing in education, as I heard from one of our residents earlier, investing in recreation and parks to right the historical wrongs that I lived through that department, youth jobs, and bringing government into the 21st century, ending the days of everything being done on paper and no one being able to track them. But as we look to this next year's budget, we will have difficult decisions to make. So our aim today is to give all of you context to our city budgeting process, share information about our agencies, their goals, and get your feedback on priorities for Baltimore as a city. This is a space for you to engage directly with senior leaders in my administration, hear from them directly, and from them, from you to hear from them, but more importantly, from them to hear directly from you. So really, thank you all for being a part of this conversation, and go Ravens.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for being here in those comments, and we'll jump right into the agenda now. Up on the screen, you can see for our agenda today on the right-hand side. So first, I'm going to do just a quick budget overview, just to give folks just the basics of the budget. Just very high level what that looks like and how to think of it. And then from there, we've asked a lot of our agency leadership in the city to make some comments. We're going to go through agency by agency and allow them to talk just a little bit about their budget and the things that they achieve from their budget and the goals that they have, things that they're working on now and are looking to achieve for next year. And then we're going to have a feedback session. So once we walk you through all of the components of the budget, the point of this is we want to hear from our citizens. We want to hear what is important to you. So we're going to coordinate like a quick feedback and voting session where you, having heard all the information about the budget and some of the larger agencies, you get to tell us what are the things that are high priority for you or a lower priority for you. Because as Mr. Mayor said, this is, budget is about choices, and we want to make sure our budget reflects the interests and the needs of our citizens. And then finally, we'll have a little bit of time for discussion at the end, and then we'll also talk at the very end about next steps about how you can stay engaged in the process. Budgeting is an almost year-round process for me and my team, and there are multiple points throughout the process where you can engage with us. Sometimes at events like these, sometimes at smaller events in your community, and then when the budget gets presented in the spring, there are public opportunities where you can come and speak to us and talk to your elected officials about what you want to see or your feedback on the proposed budget. So that's our agenda for today, and I'll jump in right away with the city budget overview. So first off, what is our budget? What's the size of it? How does it broken down? The first distinction we make for our budget is between the operating and the capital budget. So our overall budget is $4.36 billion in fiscal 24. That's the fiscal year we're in currently. And the operating budget is the much larger part of it. It's about 80% of the total. And think of the operating budget as what funds the daily business of the city. So think about, all the programs and services, the staff that support those programs is all budgeted on the operating side. We also have a capital budget, and the capital side of the budget is where we fund physical improvements to infrastructure. And so think of like your streets, your roads, your bridges, our water and wastewater utilities, our facilities, our rec center, our police station are all funded out of the capital side of the budget. So again, about 80% of our budget is operating, and close to 20% is capital. Breaking this down further, we treat our budget, segregate our budget with different funds. We'll talk a lot today about the general fund. The general fund is $2.2 billion, and that is the largest fund. It's also the one where we have the least amount of restrictions. So most of the taxes and fees we collect from residents and businesses and visitors goes into the general fund, and we really have no restrictions on how we spend that money. So that's where we have the most flexibility to move money around in any given fiscal year. And that's about $2.2 billion in fiscal '24. Second component is grant funds. We have $682 million worth of grant funds in our current year fiscal '24 budget. And grant funds are exactly what they sound like. This is money that generally comes from either the federal government, the state government, or sometimes private organizations, donors or foundations. And often that money comes with some type of restriction. So whereas the general fund, we can decide exactly how we spend it, a grant fund usually comes with some restriction. We need to spend it on some particular health program or some particular employment development program, for example. So we value that money especially, but there's usually a little bit less flexibility in how we spend those dollars. And then finally, the third fund is enterprise funds, which is $639 million. I like to think of enterprise funds as almost like little mini businesses within the city government. So our water and wastewater utilities are enterprise funds, for example. Our consumers are paying for the cost of the service for what they consume. So you pay for the amount of water that you consume, for example. And those funds have to be segregated. What we charge for those services has to go back and be spent on those services. So we can't divert revenue that comes from the water system and spend it on rec and parks, for example. By law, we have to keep those monies segregated in those funds. Breaking down the general fund even further, if you go to the next slide. This is a breakdown at the bottom of our general fund revenue by source. So think of general fund, again, grants and enterprise funds. Now, just looking at that big component, that general fund, this is where we get our general fund revenue from. And if you'll notice, the first two large blue bars, the darker blue and then the medium blue, that is property tax and income tax. So nearly 70% of our revenue comes from just those two sources alone. Property taxes, of course, are billed to property owners. You get those on July 1st of every year. Your income tax is actually paid on your state income tax return. So folks might be thinking about that. April 15th is coming up. When you file your state income tax return, a portion of that is returned back to the city as local income tax. So those two sources are the ones we look at most closely. They are by far the biggest revenue sources. You can see after those two, there are some other ones. There's some state aid that's unrestricted that comes to us. We charge for certain licenses and permits. We charge fines in certain areas, like traffic cameras, for example. If you're going over the speed limit or running a red light, we issue fines. But those are really pretty minimal. When you look at our budget, it's largely property tax and income tax is what funds our budget. That's pretty typical for a Maryland jurisdiction as well. If you looked at other counties in Maryland, it would be very similar to that. Next, in terms of how the money is spent, you can see here that we have 5 pillars. The mayor set up 5 pillars: building public safety, prioritizing our youth, responsible stewardship, clean and healthy, and equitable neighborhood development. We're going to talk a lot more about this and how each of our agencies fits into this as we get further along. One question we always get asked is, why is public safety so large? And one thing we should clarify is that you see in the prioritizing our youth pillar, our contribution to city schools is about $400 million a year, but there's also a big contribution that comes from the state. So in our budget, we show our contribution to the school system, but the school system's budget is actually about $1.3 billion overall. We contribute a portion of that, but the state contributes the rest. So That's pretty typical for Maryland. The schools is a shared cost between local governments and the state, whereas public safety tends to be a local government programs, and we don't get much state aid for that. So the money we spend in our general fund, we've kind of sized these, relative to how much we spend there. And again, we're going to talk a lot more about each of those pillars and how our agencies fit in as we go through today. If you go to the next slide, this is looking at the general fund spending by type. And if you look at the first line, salaries, and the fourth line, other personnel costs, that's basically salaries and benefits for our city personnel. So fully half of our general fund budget is spent on salaries of employees. And that makes sense, right? The staff, the people that you see day to day, a police officer, somebody that comes on a medic unit, somebody that you interact with at a rec center, somebody that comes to collect your trash, all those positions, all those staff are budgeted in our operating budget, and that's really the bulk, about half of our cost in the general fund. We also have some other components, grants, subsidies, and contributions. If we're making a contribution to another entity, it falls in that line. Our contribution to city schools is a good example of that. Contractual services, and when we pay an outside vendor to do some work for us. So sometimes we'll do services, we'll perform services to our own staff. Sometimes we have to hire somebody or an expert in another field to help us do that work. And then, of course, we have some other costs, smaller items, debt service on money we borrowed in prior years, material, supplies, and equipment are the smaller components, but by far the biggest is those salaries and benefit costs. How do we build our budget? So I like to think of this little wheel here as kind of like our virtuous wheel if we do this correctly. We start from a world where we build a strategic plan. And this administration, this mayor, I think has done a really great job of laying out very clearly what he wants to deliver. And so we'll talk a little bit later about each of those pillars and the 5 that we saw earlier and what we're trying to achieve in each of those pillars. So we start with, what are we trying to achieve for our residents? And then we build a budget around that plan. So, we don't want to have a budget that's not linked to our strategic plan, because then we would be putting money towards things that really are not critical or important. So when we work with our agencies to develop budget proposals each year, we make sure that they link their spending and the things that they're proposing back to the plan to make sure we're meeting that strategic plan. And then after the budget is adopted, we have to track to see if the money we're spending is having an impact. And so now we have what we call agency performance plans, that once the budget is adopted in any year, an agency lays out all of the goals that they're expected to meet. And those are actually public now. Those are available on the city's website to see what each agency is expected to deliver. So if we're doing this correctly, we build a strategic plan, we build our budget process around that strategic plan, so we're putting money towards things that are listed in that strategic plan. And then once we start spending the money, we track it and make sure that we're delivering on the things that we want. So again, this is kind of a virtuous cycle, and we go through this cycle every year when we build our budget process. We budget, we track, we go back and check the strategic plan, then we budget again, track, and again, that should be a virtuous cycle where we see that achieved over and over again to make sure we're staying on track for what we'd like to achieve. You'll hear a little bit from agency heads today about how they fit into that strategic plan, but think again, the pillars are those 5 we talked about earlier. And then we also track, we measure indicators, things that tell us how well we're doing, right? So if we have a pillar for, public safety, we want to look at the crime rate to see how we're doing. We have a pillar for youth, prioritizing our youth. We want to see if we have good scores, test scores on standardized tests, or if we have higher graduation rates from year to year. So we're looking at indicators out there that tell us, are we achieving what we're trying to achieve and keeping us on track. And again, you'll hear from agencies today a little bit more about the types of things that they're doing in that front. Next slide. These again, going back to our pillars: public safety, prioritizing our youth, clean and healthy communities, equitable neighborhood development, and responsible stewardship of city resources. Those are the 5 pillars that we're starting with, and then each of our agencies fits into one of those pillars. And you can see at the bottom again, kind of just a bar graph about how that money is distributed between those 5 pillars. In terms of the timeline of the budget process and our budget cycle, so we start, I said earlier, it's really a year-round process for myself and my team. In the fall, August to October of each year, the finance department and the planning department begin just looking at the next fiscal year and trying to create an outlook, see what the fiscal environment looks like. We also touch base with the mayor and his team to figure out what are the things we're trying to achieve in next year's budget. And so really the fall is mostly a planning time of the year for us and our team. We're now in the January to March timeframe, and what we're doing now is we have received budget proposals from agencies, and we are analyzing those and deliberating with the mayor and his team about what are the things we want to fund for next year. So this is a very kind of internal part of the process where we're doing a lot of work internally and trying to decide what we want to fund for that next fiscal year. And then once we get into the spring, which is March, April, and May, is more the public engagement side of the budget, where we make a proposal, we put the budget out there to the public, and the public has a chance to make, comments and suggest changes. And then that's also the phase of the process where we need to we seek city council passage of the budget. Our law requires us to get city council passage of the budget by 5 days before the end of the year, which is for us June 25th. So think of fall as we're doing a lot of the pre-planning. Winter time, like right around now, is when we're kind of engaging with residents and also trying to make some decisions. And then the spring is when we present our proposed plan, and then we hear again from residents and we hear from our other elected officials like city council, who has to formally act on the budget to put it into place. In terms of our actual outlook for 25, so when we did that pre-planning part of our process in the fall, our first outlook was not great. We determined that our revenues for next year would not be enough to cover the cost of the services that we're already delivering. So we started our planning process with a little bit of a hole. And you can see here it was over $100 million when we did this exercise in the fall. The good news is, as more information has come in, that gap has narrowed to around $60 million. We got some good news on property tax reassessments, particularly, that look like they're going to be higher than what we had projected. But we still have a gap between what revenues we will have and what services we would like to deliver. So a lot of our planning process over the course of the next couple of months will be trying to find savings or try and find ways to squeeze more revenue so that we can continue to maintain our services and potentially even invest in new programs and new services that we think will advance that, the mayor's action plan. Next, thinking about the future, our team doesn't just look at one fiscal year at a time. We also try to lay out what does the long-term health of the city's financial situation look like in the long term. So we do a 10-year forecast every year, and again, if you're starting with a small gap, that tends to expand over time, especially if your costs are growing more rapidly than your revenues. And that's a challenge for a city like Baltimore. We have lost some population over time, we've lost some of our tax base, but we have a lot of needs. We have a lot of services that we need to deliver to our residents. So one of our challenges is making sure that we can attack not only a current year budget, but make sure we're making the right decisions so that we don't set ourselves up for failure in the future. And as part of that, next, we have what we call a 10-year plan. If you could flip to that next one. There we go. So not only are we trying to achieve just balance in our budget, we also like to think about what are the things that we need to spend to actually deliver better service. So we did an exercise this fall where, we have around a $60 million structural budget gap right now, but if we can close that, we still think we should be investing even more in core service delivery, even more in infrastructure investment, and even more in tax reduction, because we do have higher tax rates than most of our competitors in the region. So even beyond just coming to balance, we're constantly thinking about what are the ways that we can invest if we do have additional resources, again, to deliver better services, to have better infrastructure, or to even reduce taxes for our residents. So that's very big picture about what the budget looks like and what our team does and how we think about it. What we're going to do next is we're going to go through pillar by pillar. So those 5 pillars we talked about, we're going to go pillar by pillar, and we're going to ask a few agency heads for each of those pillars just to speak up and talk a little bit about their budget and what are the things they try to achieve in their particular agency and how that advances the goals that the city has overall. We're going to move through each of the pillars, and again, there's 5 pillars. We're going to start with prioritizing our youth. You can see here total spending in prioritizing our youth in the fiscal 24 budget was about $658 million, and you can see some of the agencies, schools, library, rec and parks, health department, and others that contribute to that particular pillar. So if you could go to the next slide. The goals for the Prioritizing Our Youth pillar are to ensure access to quality education and recreational environments, to 2, increase the quality of opportunities for disconnected youth, 3, decrease the number of justice-involved youth, 4, to ensure that children are ready for success upon entering kindergarten, and 5, to increase engagement with Baltimore youth. So those are the 5 pillar goals. And again, connecting this back to our budget process, when we ask agencies for budget proposals, we want them to link to one of those goals to show how they're going to advance that. So we have representatives from a couple of these agencies here today: the library, the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, Rec and Parks, and MOED. And I would ask them, just to stand up and just speak for a couple minutes about some of the things they're doing. Whoever wants to go first. Do you want to start, Heidi, since you're library, you're first on the list? Would you do? Thank you. It's up to you. If you can project, you can project. If you
I'll
want to
come up here. That's fine. That's more comfortable, I think. Okay, well, good morning, rather. I'm Heidi Daniel. I'm the president and CEO of the Enoch Pratt Free Library. And Enoch Pratt Free Library is, of course, Baltimore City's library, and then we're also the State Library Resource Center for the state of Maryland. And I also have with me Kenny Clash, our COO. So he's going to be doing a lot of these, and he's kind of new to the library, so we brought him along for today. So for the library, in last year's budget, we had added some new grant-funded positions through our private funds and our private donors. Am I too loud? Do I need to back up? Back up a little bit, okay. I can project pretty well, so maybe I don't even need the microphone like I thought I did. So we added some new positions for our Books for Me program, which focuses on 0 to 5, building home libraries and modeling early literacy for young families and parents. We partner heavily with Head Starts and Judy Centers around that, and our participants get to come to programs, read with their children, read with their families. They can bring all the siblings, and we get to build home libraries for them. We also added positions for our teen center to help with things like our recording studio. We're about to launch a teen music label called Journey Records that will be coming out, and some of our grant-funded positions helped us do that. We have extensive after-school programming in all of our branches, and we also use that private grant support for some additional programs for telehealth for seniors from BSID's HRSA grant, as well as we'll be using ARPA funding, the American Rescue Plan funding, to add more digital navigators. We're redoing our computer spaces to be more family friendly, so we have started at our Penn North branch, and there's some child-parent corrals that are in that space that will help parents be able to work and have a young child in a sort of playpen with activities next to them, or be able to build that out so that they have family-friendly workspaces as well as more comfortable adult workspaces, whether you're using a computer that we provide, a device that you bring in, or whatever works best for you. In this year's coming budget, we're also hoping to maintain our collection. We received an inflation increase for our collection, but we actually hit a 12-year high for collection usage this year at the Pratt, which is fantastic. That's both physical materials and, of course, heavily driven by our e-materials, e-books, as well as checkout of things like sewing machines, drum kits, laptops, all of the other non-traditional items we also provide. And those inflation costs are really important because, in particular, the e-materials, the resources, the databases kids use, the after-school online homework help, and all the e-books continue to increase substantially in cost. So so it's incredibly important for us as well to maintain those collection dollars from the city. The vast majority of our public city funding pays for our staffing, which is fantastic because we have an amazing staff. It also helps pay for, obviously, use of our facilities where we provide all of these amazing programs. We had 23,000 families participate in our Summer Break Baltimore program, which again focuses on building home libraries for all ages. And we also had over 5,000 people participate in our social impact programs, which include social workers, peer recovery coaches, lawyers, housing navigators from the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services, and a lot of our other agency partners bring in individuals as well. So that's a little overview of what the Pratt does with our budget funding, both this year and next year, or the last year and this coming year. And we're hopeful that we'll be able to provide these amazing services in our branches throughout the community. So I think that's something up for me.
Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Library. And either MOCFS, Rec and Parks, or MOED, who wants to go next? You want to go? Nate?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Brooks. I am the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, and I'm just going to share a little bit about some of the programming and things that we did in this current fiscal year and what we look forward to doing in the next fiscal year. So MOCFS supports all things children and family, beginning with supporting Head Start programs, where we are supporting about 700 children and families, and I say children and families at Head Start because we are able to work with families on how to engage their young people at very early ages, also ensuring that our young people are kindergarten ready. So you heard under that pillar for our youth, prioritizing our youth, that they are ready for school ready. We heard talk a little bit about graduation rates. Well, graduation rates don't start in high school. It actually starts as a very early learner. So really, really proud about the work that we are doing with our Head Starts and with our families, but also then engaging those families through our community action partnerships, where we provide assistance around eviction prevention, energy assistance, and water bill assistance. And just want to say that with the support of this administration, we have been able to, in fiscal year 24, be able to support over 5,000 households to stabilize so that they did not lose their homes. But holistically, we've been able to support over 24,000 households where we could assist families with eviction prevention, security deposits as well. Also, we also have been able to stand up robust programming in partnership with other agencies, city agencies, around out-of-school time for our young people. We were able to engage over 3,000 youth this summer with robust summer programming after hearing from the youth what activities they would like to engage in. And so we were able to stand up those activities around the city and different events. We have also worked very closely with Enoch Pratt Library as well as other agencies to ensure that our families not only have access to these, but are able to then have a voice in these programs as well. Moving forward to this fiscal year, working very closely in partnership with city schools to ensure that our young people feel safe. So engaging with prioritizing programming for young people during school breaks, as well as ensuring that young people feel safe both in school, around school, and traveling back and forth to school, as well as continuing to engage our families through case management programming through our CAP centers, so that when families come in and share one situation that they may be in, actually sitting down and planning, developing action plans with them to be able to program out, to bring agency linkages together to be able to share all of the services and supports that are available. Most of our budget is with staffing, but we also then do use those supports from our other agencies to be able to provide additional resources and supports to our families. So that's a little bit about MOCFS.
Thank you. And we've got Rec and Parks and MOED, if you guys want to go next. Thank you.
Oh, hi everyone, good morning. I'm Matt Garvin, I'm the director of MOED. Please, I would shake everyone's hand and say hi to everyone, but I am very ill today, so please stay away from me. Again, I'm the director of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. If you don't know about MOED, we are the entity that is in charge with directing and coordinating and leading the public workforce system We're funded through many different channels. Primarily, we're funded through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act by the federal government. All of workforce is funded like this. Baltimore City proper is actually one workforce investment area. There are 13 in Maryland, and there's a set of formula funds that come from the federal government every year. And then we also have, of course, funding from the city of Baltimore, funding from the state, and we pursue funding throughout the year for various projects. Part of what we do with WIOA, we're required to have a workforce development board. So I also serve as the director of the agency, but the executive director of the Baltimore Workforce Development Board, and that's made up of local leaders, stakeholders. There's a statutory number of businesses that need to be on that board, and we create policy and drive workforce development in that way. We also administer TANF, so we work with individuals who are on temporary cash assistance, and then we also work with individuals who are involved in the criminal justice system. So we have several different pockets of work that we do that fall under the umbrella of helping our residents get what they need in order to get connected to an employment opportunity. So support, training, getting them right into a job opportunity to get them to an opportunity that will help them have a family sustaining wage. And then we also work with employers to do the same, to understand what the employers need, match them with the residents, and also help employers understand job quality, what they need in order to attract and retain our residents. And like I said, we work with several different populations. We work with adults. We also work with youth. So this slide is about prioritizing our young people. You know, it's really, really important to work with young people and to help them to understand their opportunities, their career pathways, also to help them, to prevent them from becoming disconnected. So we know that when we help young people get jobs, especially in the summer, it can reduce violent crime, it can help them with their academics, and we know that around 26% of Baltimore City's youth, they become disconnected, and the average wage for those young people is around $11,000. So it's really important that we get those young people connected with opportunities, not only to help with reducing crime, but also just helping with quality of life, helping them to earn the type of wages to increase the tax base in Baltimore City. So if we look back at fiscal 2024, some of the things that we're really proud of, increasing the hourly wage for the YouthWorks participants to $15. It was $13.25 starting in January of this year. This is the first year that we've had a year-round YouthWorks program. That wage went up to $15. For program year 24, which will actually be fiscal year 2025, will be at $15. So we're excited about that. And as I said, the importance of working with those opportunity youth, increasing training opportunities for ages 18 to 24-year-olds. Moving into the fiscal 25 goals, providing jobs experience for 7,000 young people. We're actually right now, if you don't know, we're in the YouthWorks phase right now. The portal opened in January and it will close on March 22nd. Please, 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 everyone, please spread the word because so many young people apply, or perhaps they don't fill out all the paperwork, and we want to just make sure that everybody gets their information in. For employers, please encourage them to become work sites. They have until April 12th. Last year, we placed 6,382 young people. We offered 7,000 jobs. We want to get 7,000 young people into work, and it really is dependent on how many work sites that we have. Another thing that I talked about was focusing on those opportunity youth. We want to help to get those 200 opportunity youth connected to training opportunities. Like I said, for those 26% that are disconnected, they're really in jeopardy of having really, really low wages, low quality of life, and none of that is positive in any way, shape, or form. So we're partnering with Grads to Careers to get young people who know that they're not going to college connected to training opportunities. So that's all. If you have any questions for me about anything with MoEd, please feel free to reach out to me. Don't touch me today, but any other day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And then just last one for youth would be Rec and Parks. Ken?
Yes. Good morning to everyone. My name is Ken King. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Recreation and Parks, and I'm honored to represent the agency in this event. One thing I was noticed when Bob was doing his chart, there's a little circle. He had one that showed 665 million in youth, and he has a circle indicating the size of the budget. And I couldn't see Rec and Parks, which means, it's a little dot, you know what I mean? So the circle needs to be bigger. I'm sorry. No, I was saying, I was looking at the chart, and the chart has a series of circles which seem to indicate the level of funding, and I sat there and I couldn't see us, so something is missing there, which means our share is very, very small. Anyway, what I would like to do is to go through, is to explain to you some of the things that we've been doing to support the mayor's pillars of prioritizing our youth. And for 2024, we had to make a bold decision to reduce our staffing at the same time and keep our staffing. In other words, then we had to freeze about 14 positions to increase the salaries of especially our center directors and leaders, because they were leaving us in droves going towards the other counties. So therefore, we had to do something, and we worked with Bmore, and we were able to come to accomplish that in terms of increasing in salaries and maintaining our staff. Because every time you have an experienced staff leaving you, and you have a new staff, inexperienced staff, it's like starting over again. And thanks to BBMR, we were able to achieve that. The second thing that we did, another thing that we do in terms of maintaining in terms of supporting the pillars, is that for 2024, Carl Park Recreation Center, which has been closed for over 15 years, have been in Rec and Parks for some years now, and that has never been open. It will be open for the first time later on, before the ending of 2024. I think it's next month that center is supposed to be open, which is good because there is no recreation service in that particular area. We were granted $200,000 from the state to initiate the start of middle school sports, and that is underway. We are happy for that, because the younger you get the kids them active, the better it is. And also we have funding going into FY25 from the general fund, so that would be a good event for our young people, especially when we start to get them from middle school before high school. The earlier we get them, the better it is for them to be on the right path to success as individuals. We also have a plan. We have a plan. I'm sorry. We have about $2.6 million which is made up of table games and CDBG funds, and that is for programming, and we hope to increase the level of programming into FY25. We have done some great things in 24, but we're really focusing on FY25 because last year was a really, really challenging year for our youth, and we intend to really allocate enough funding so that we can, especially all the youth, like the teens and the young adults, we really, really want to get them into some type of programming, recreation programming, so that we can at least point them to some kind of direction other than the path to basically destruction. And so we're going to implement a comprehensive plan for 2025. This is a plan that seeks to incorporate all of our assets, all of our activities, all of our funding, and we hope this plan will be transformational in terms of how we deliver recreation services across the city. We will also increase our funding for teen services. We will have some teen centers located at strategic sites within the city. We have hired a teen coordinator, and the idea is that we want to reach the teens in any and everywhere they are. So again, we can at least encourage them to come into some kind of activity that will change them, because recreation is not about sports and leisure. Recreation is about providing the activities that will make a difference in some people's lives. And the word itself means to change. Recreation we create, so therefore we are trying to focus on having these type of programs that will definitely impact our young people and therefore point them in a different direction. We hope that we can increase our sports, participation in sports by at least 15%. Of course, with the new funding from the general fund for middle school sports, we hope to achieve that because we have a number of schools who are interested in middle school sports. Plus, we have some new programming coming for adults and teens again, whereby we can encourage them into some new activities. Then we're also going to provide some space in FY25. What we understood is that our young people need help in many ways, including mental care. So what we will be doing in 25 is that we will be making available space in some of our recreation centers for trauma-informed care, and we're going to join with some of our partners so that any young person can walk into our center, and it will be private, it will not be open, it will be very, in a sense, give them the space for them to express themselves, talk to someone. Therefore, we hope with this type of activity, the emphasis here is to how do we redirect our young people into positive change and positive development. And we're going to place special emphasis on these type of activities next year. And that's it. I've finished. Thank you.
So I just want to keep it moving so we can get through all the pillars. Thank you. Thank you to all the folks on the Prioritizing Our Youth, Library, Rec and Parks, the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, and MOED. Appreciate those comments.
Real quick.
Yeah.
So we should do, so for the next round, we still have what, 4?
4 to get through, yeah.
So let's do, what is it, 60, maybe 90-second elevator pitch, because at the end of this, we're gonna have the community members vote on their priorities, so it's up to the agency directors to convince the community why your area is the most important, but you got only 90 seconds to.
Okay, so next up is building public safety. Again, just for your reference, 1.1 billion overall in the fiscal 24 budget. And you can see the agencies here: police, fire, transportation, state's attorney, others. But we're going to focus on three agencies for public safety. Two of the most obvious ones, of course, the police department and the fire department, but also our Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. So we've got those three here. I see them back of the corner. Whoever wants to go first, either stand up there, give your pitch, or you're welcome to come up to the mic. If you can project, you can stand up and do it there. Oh, okay. They want us to come to the mic.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. My name is James Wallace. I'm the chief of the fire department. I'm very happy to be here. Certainly can make myself available afterwards if there are questions. In 90 seconds, I will do my best. During this past budget year, we've really stressed a lot on external service delivery, both emergent and non-emergent type delivery. We are currently expanding our EMS capabilities, but not only in the traditional, we come and take you to the hospital. We're looking at strategic ways to better develop and deliver advanced life support versus basic life support, but also that community engagement piece, especially where we pay a lot of attention to our homeless population and call diversion. A lot of that is taken into consideration with other agencies in the city, yielded the city this past year an innovation award from MACO, the Maryland Association of Counties. That is a huge award for the city. That really shows the innovation, the operations that a lot of agencies have taken to better deliver service to the citizens of Baltimore. Moving forward into the next budget year, it is my goal to continue to expand that, as well as increase and stabilize our staffing. We are also an agency that's funded with grants. So a major grant that we have right now that I'm very proud of is a fire prevention grant where we're able to put people, fire department members in the street on overtime to deliver face-to-face service, fire prevention-wise, smoke detector installation, and home safety plan construction with our civilians. But a large part of that is also us being able to go out and focus specifically on vacant dwellings and our code X-ray program. So we are going to continue in the coming year, not only to focus on service delivery in the emergent environment, but also in the community relations, community service environment. And again, I'm happy to stay afterwards if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Monzi? So we got Monzi. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. Good morning, all. My name is Stephanie Nevronis. I serve as the Director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, also known as MONSE. We were a new city agency with the Scott administration, and one that had a very unique charge, really to bring the mayor's vision for a comprehensive public safety strategy, one that went beyond law enforcement. So really digging into those aspects of prevention of violence, intervening in violence, and rehabilitation through reentry services, and giving that a home at the local level. So we started with the Comprehensive Violence Prevention Plan, which was released as a 5-year plan in July 2021. We're currently in the 3rd year of implementation. And a lot of our budget goes towards staff support to carry out that implementation and vision. Within our agency, we have a few different areas where we offer direct services. And so the group violence reduction strategy, that's one that started in the Western District. We saw really large declines in an area in the city that's historically our most violent. We're now expanded to 2 additional districts, the Southwestern District and the Central District. And we will be working to expand to the Eastern District next. So we're looking forward to bringing those services to East Baltimore and really making sure that we can help people change their lives and avoid violence. Our budget also is supplemented by a number of state philanthropic and federal grant dollars. A lot of that supports our programming in a few different areas, including victim services. This is an area that we're really proud of. We've been able to build out a victim services team to fill gaps in that space, and really with a focus on supporting both primary victims of violence as well as people who are traumatized, who have experienced or seen things in their communities. We've assisted a number of people with barrier removal, and I'll also mention that MONSE is the agency that manages the Baltimore City Visitation Center, and so that's another aspect of our operation that our funding supports. We also make a number of grant funds available to grassroots organizations that do this work too. We recognize the city government cannot drive reductions in violence alone. We need to partner with the community, and so a lot of our budget also goes towards making grants available to organizations doing that work. If you see it on our slide, we also have support for community violence intervention programs, and so our budget also supports contracts with all 10 of our Safe Street sites across the city. And we're looking forward to really making sure we can connect that programming, ensure it's effective, and really bring as much of that work into alignment as possible. Just want to see if there's anything else. I think I'll leave it there for now, but excited to be here today and happy to talk to any of you all later. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Deputy Commissioner Cherie Briscoe of the Administrative Bureau on behalf of the Baltimore Police Department and Commissioner Borley. So thank you to my partners that started this conversation, as our focus for budget has been, of course, to reduce violent crime, and we've been working on that in the areas of illegal flow of guns. And as you all know, last year we were able to close the year with, and I say this as a point of focus, but of course not to say that the work is done. It is headed in the right direction. So I wanted to anchor that before I made the statement. With 22% down in homicides, which is something that we have not seen in the city in nearly a decade. And that's due to the work. That's due to the work that we have been able to do in partnership, not just with the team members in the room, but largely with community. A reduction of violent crime that focuses our efforts on victims. So we've been able to expand our victim services portfolio in conjunction with MONSE and other partners. We'll continue that in our fiscal year FY25 as a goal. We've also have those things funded by state aid and support. Another focus for us, of course, is our recruitment efforts. We cannot do this work without having more members on the team, and that is why we need all of you and all of you watching to support our efforts to recruit. Again, our focus in recruiting is 30 by 30, and that is to have 30% of the workforce to be women by the year 2030. We'll continue that effort and our, of course, work in the consent decree area. As you know, we have been in the consent decree for now 7 years. We've just gotten 2 paragraphs in our consent decree, which represents over, 2 sections, which represent over 24 paragraphs in full and effective compliance, which is a step in the right direction. Again, work that we're able to do in partnership with the agencies here and in partnership with community. I'm going to park right there because I could kind of go on for more than just the 90-second elevator pitch, but I will be available because there's a lot of great work that we're doing. However, we are not there. But we'll focus our efforts and energy in partnership with you and community to achieve our goals of 15% reduction of violent crime come 2020, fiscal year 2025. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that was public safety. Next up, third pillar, clean and healthy communities. You can see on the left, total spending for this particular pillar divided among a handful of agencies, Public Works, Health, Rec and Parks, and some others. We wanted to hear from these 4. So we have Health Department, General Services, DPW, and Homeless Services. Whoever wants to go first, come on up. Do you want Public Works, Richard? And again, if we could just keep it to the 90-second kind of summary pitch so we can get through everything soon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Richard Lynette, Interim Director, Department of Public Works. I love a good challenge, CAO Leach, so my Chief of Staff is going to time me 90 seconds on the clock. I'm going to try to get through as much of Public Works as I can in 90 seconds, so this is going to be fun. Ready? Okay. So DPW, we take great pride in making sure that the streets are clean, that our waterways are clean, and that we're providing high quality water to all of our residents in Baltimore City and Baltimore County. We have about 2,700 employees that work not just within the city, but throughout the region to ensuring that we're meeting all of our goals. We have about $1 billion budget, but about 660 is on operating. The other part is on CIP. For the current fiscal year, our biggest and top priority is the return to weekly recycling. So under Mayor Scott's leadership, we funded 20 additional crews that are specific for routine services. That's our trash and recycling pickups. We're on track to hire all of those positions in time. We ordered 80 new trucks that are going to go towards routine services that are going to help stabilize those services. And so we are excited to be able to do that work of this year. One of the other great parts of this year that we did is aggressively go out in terms of grant dollars. So our staff applied for, we got $15.8 million from the state that went to 75,000 customers to help pay off their outstanding water debt that they incurred during the pandemic. And that's just some of the progressive areas that our staff is always looking for and addressing to ensure that we're meeting the obligations of what our goals are. In terms of next year, fiscal year 25, our biggest item that we're trying to do was the lead and copper inventory. So all of that information is on our website. Please go and complete that survey. We really need your help in completing that effort.
Ooh, just barely.
That's 90 seconds. There's honestly a lot more in Public Works, obviously, that I could talk about. I could probably keep on going, but we'll be available to happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Okay.
Good morning. I'll step away. My voice is loud. Good morning. My name is Ihuoma Emenuga. I'm the Acting Commissioner of Health. Very happy to be here. 90 seconds is not a lot of time, but fortunately I'm here with our Chief of Staff, Kelly, our Deputy Chief of Staff, Camille, our Chief Financial Officer, Unime, our Director of Communications, Blair, so if you have any questions afterwards, you can talk to any of us. And so in the short time, I'll say, the great thing about the health department is we work with a lot of community partners, so nothing we say is going to be new to you today or news to you anyway. You're fully involved in the work that we do. In the last fiscal year, we're really happy that we're on track to provide at least 500 home visits, which involves lead, asthma, chronic disease management. We're also really happy about the work that we've done with naloxone training, over 150 employees, 370 staff members overall, the city who've been trained in preventing deaths. For the next year coming along, we're super excited. I'm sorry, am I talking too fast? We're super excited next year because we're going into an electronic medical record that will provide coverage across the city in real time, virtual visits. It's going to be the first time we've had that, so I can't tell you how happy we are about it. We're also going to embark on syringe drop-off kiosks across the city. Some of you might have seen these surveys. If you haven't, please respond to them. They're open until the end of this month. Where we place the boxes is really going to be determined on the feedback that we get from the communities. This is our way of ensuring that we're contributing to a healthy and more equitable Baltimore. We want to make sure that we're placing these boxes in the right places based on the feedback that we get. Don't know if my 90 seconds is up, but like I said, we're here with our dynamic team from the health department, and we're really happy to answer any questions you have about what we're doing. Thank you.
Okay, DGS.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Rappaport. I am our Chief of Fiscal, and I'm happy to be here this morning on behalf of our Director, Becca Atoa, and the Department of General Services. You're going to get me twice this morning because we fall under two different pillars. Our Energy Office, which supports clean and healthy communities, you can think of as really covering five significant buckets of how we characterize our work. So projects, grant dollars, we're a big conduit between federal and state grant dollars for energy projects. Legislation, advocates on legislation that support building efficiency and helping to inform how we word and scope that legislation. Data integrity, aggregating and collating our building data to optimize how we make energy investments and how we utilize building space. And energy billing, making sure that we do it with integrity, that we do it in a way where it's the data is tight and it's defensible, and we are really optimizing that process to get reimbursements and so forth. Some of the highlights in fiscal 24 for the Energy Office, Energy team within DGS, for every $1 invested, we returned $1.77 in saves. That's a 77% ROI. It's pretty good dollars invested in the Energy Office. 19.4% of our city government electricity comes from a renewable source, and we were very proud to meet the Maryland state renewable objectives that are set for us, and helping to lead the city in that regard. Additionally, since the inception of the Energy Office in DGS, $18.4 million has been saved and are returned by reimbursements as revenue into the city. Which is also, again, speaks to the work that we do and the very good investment that we demonstrate ourselves as being on behalf of Baltimore citizens. And 68 million kilowatt hours of energy were saved from the Energy Office initiatives during fiscal year 22. So I will leave it there, and you will get me for the rest of DGS under a different pillar.
Okay, oh, yep, we do it. Homeless Services.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ernestina Simmons, the Director for the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services. I do not project, therefore I must stay here. So part of what I want to highlight is really what our needs are for this budget for 2025. For calendar year 2023, we were able to, our office is a little bit different because our charge is those that are in need, right? So as I'm highlighting what we've accomplished, please recognize that our need is extreme when it comes to recognizing we are a trajectory in how we serve Baltimore City. Our services start with the outreach team, and then it goes to navigation, and then we look at emergency shelter, and then we go into permanent supportive housing. We have federal funding, state funding, but today we'll be talking about how the city funds this work directly, which is our outreach work. So for 2025, which we've started right now, we're looking at increasing our shelter capacity in beds. And for us, that looks like improving our services in every possible way, increasing navigation on the street, adding some clinical work, increased outreach workers onto our outreach teams. In calendar year 2023, Our outreach workers served over 56,000 encounters with people that are on the street. We've seen over 2,000 residents come into our shelters, and what we're challenged with right now is we don't have enough beds. And so what we're doing for 2024, our budget is centered around increasing operations for emergency shelters because we are looking to increase capacity of shelters. So as everyone knows, we've been demobilizing shelters, but we're at this phase now, this is the time that we are going to completely demobilize our shelters in a way that we create more beds and more capacity, and that's going to require some operational support, which is heavily a part of what we're asking for in this project. So I'm holding firm to my 90 seconds, but that is our need in this budget. We just need to do better in terms of recognizing this is a comprehensive services that MOHS is focused on. And so outreach needs increased support, our shelter providers need increased operations support, and we are primed and prepared to increase our shelter capacity. But again, operational support is critical in that way, so thank you. I also will remain behind to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, so next pillar, the fourth pillar, equitable neighborhood development. You can see on the left again, total spending by fund, and then on the right, the different agencies that support this particular pillar. If you go to the next slide, and we've got 3 agencies that we want to hear from today, so HCD, DOT, and the Office of Equity. So again, 90-second quick summary of what you do and results, and we'll go from there. So why don't we start with, it's DOT, I saw, there we go.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Letitia Gardner. I'm the Deputy Director of Administration. I'm also joined by Dehendra Sinha, who is our Chief of Fiscal Services. The Department of Transportation covers a wide range of services, including roadways, bridges, alleys, footways, snow removal, towing, our crossing guards, and our transportation enforcement officers. During the 90-day sprint, we were able to repair over 27,000 potholes. We also resurfaced 17 lane miles. And we're proud that we had a record year in installing 489 speed humps in 114 different neighborhoods. We also towed over 900 abandoned vehicles, helping to clean up the city. And we're committed to continuing and improving the services in Baltimore City with our resources. In this coming fiscal year, we'll be increasing our fleet for the Charm City Circulator, so to help reduce the headway services provided to our customer. We have a signal optimization program that we'll be implementing to better help synchronize our traffic signals. That's all I have, and I'll be around to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
We'll go housing next. Do we go, Alice?
Hi, everybody. Good morning-ish, afternoon. I haven't checked the time yet. Good morning? Yeah, we're still good. Good morning, everybody. Alice Kennedy, Housing Commissioner for Baltimore City Department of Housing and Community Development. Glad to see everybody that came out this morning to talk about the important budget that we have before us as a city. DHCD has about 343 employees. We're actually actively hiring. I think even this week that number has added an additional 5. So we continue to grow, and that's really one of the biggest things in terms of highlights of budgets that we've had and that are noted in our slides that are in your packet. But we have new positions that are associated with in-rem tax, lien foreclosure, acquisition of properties, and really everything across our 5 operational divisions is geared towards
our equitable neighborhood development, the reduction of vacant properties, the revitalization of our communities, preserving affordable housing, and minimizing displacement, and doing all of this work in an equitable fashion as we move forward. So in terms of our operating budget, that really is the focus of our work, is really coalescing around the reduction of vacant properties in the city of Baltimore and the creation of affordable housing opportunities in diverse communities across the city of Baltimore. The other piece on the capital side, a little bit, we do also have that same focus on the capital side. So it focuses on all of the work that we do in our communities to reduce blight and create affordable housing options. So happy to answer any specific questions, but definitely, those are the key highlights in terms of how our budget is coordinated and what we look at in terms of services and providing those services to the city. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. All right. Office of Equity.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Khadija Farahman. I'm Chief of Staff for the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. Today with me here is Ermeek Glass, Acting Chief of Police Accountability Board. So our office is mandated by various boards and commissions. Currently, we have 6 boards and different commissions: the Community Relations Commission that investigate employment, housing, discrimination, and then we have our Wage Commission, and the Women's Commission, Veterans Commission, which is a newly added mandate to our office, the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities, the Police Accountability Board, and the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. I want to focus on just few. We have accomplished amazing things. This past year, we had our first community forum for about the courageous conversation about race and equity in the city. Our director, Dana Peterson-Moore, she took the task of just reviewing the budget from the equity lens. We have 100% provide trainings to all city employees, agency leadership, as well as we have 100% equity coordinators to all city agencies. We are so proud that our team is doing amazing things. I want to pass it over to my colleague. She can talk a little bit about our amazing work that we are doing with the Police Accountability Board Division. Thank you.
Thank you, Khadija. Ermeek Glass, Acting Chief of Police Accountability. So several things have happened. Last year, the Police Accountability Board was set up. 17 members were appointed by City Council. We also have the ACC that was selected by PAB. We also, within the Police Accountability Division, we also have CRB. Within that, we are also doing trial boards. Our Police Accountability Board, ACC Board, they all get stipends. We have a comprehensive staff. So several things that we want to do this coming year is build out our infrastructure. We have a solid foundation. We want to make sure that our complaint and advocacy is built out. We want to make sure that our outreach, community engagement is built out. We want to make sure that everyone knows how to go through the complaint process and file a complaint, and knows everything around that complete process. We want to make sure that we have the funding. I just want to tell you all, we have sheriffs, Baltimore PD, school police, environmental police, Hopkins University, and the University of Maryland. Those are all under our oversight and accountability measures, and we want to make sure that we're able to meet all of the community needs within this accountability and oversight. And we know this is a dear and near area for the community, and we're doing everything to build that process out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, to close it out, responsible stewardship of city resources. You can see on the left the sources of funding. Think of this pillar as a lot of these services support other agencies. So many of these services don't directly touch the public, but these agencies often support the city government at large, which is also important to make sure that they can do the things that they do. So we have a couple of representatives from a variety of agencies here, BSIT, HR, Mayor's Office of Small Minority Business, and then DGS. So whoever wants to come up first. I saw, Quentin, do you want to start it off, HR? Also wanted to mention we've been joined by Councilman Robert Stokes. I just saw him come in. Thank you for joining us today, Councilman.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, everyone. My name is Quentin Herbert. I'm the Director of Human Resources and Chief Human Capital Officer for the City of Baltimore. DHR is, as Bob mentioned, a core back office support agency. So we really don't engage with the public, but we serve the employees who serve the city. And so in keeping with Madam CA's directive to keep this at 90 seconds, I'm just going to give you a little math. I'm going to give you an equation that outlines everything that we do that relates to this pillar in DHR. LD plus EE equals BECW. Okay? One more time. LD plus EE equals BECW. LD is leadership development. Leadership development, EE is employee engagement, and BECW is a better equipped city workforce. So leadership development, we have funding for 30 of our top supervisors and people leaders. We formed partnership with the University of Baltimore where they can earn a certified public manager credential. We've had a first class of 15 to graduate. The second class of 15 is matriculating through that program now. We also have the leadership pathway, which is internal training for all people leaders that is available in a whole host of things from basic management skills to team building, conflict resolution, and a grounding in core city policies and procedures because, as I like to always say, if people knew better, they do better. Employee engagement. We are working with our agencies around a comprehensive enterprise-wide employee engagement program because we know that up to a third of what any corporation spends in labor costs is lost due to employee disengagement. And so as we can build a more engaged employee workforce, we will have a more responsive employee workforce that will better serve the needs of our citizens. And that is DHR's spiel, 90-second elevator speech. The message is keep DHR fully funded. Thank you.
Okay, we want to go BSIT next.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Harrington. I am the Chief Financial Officer for the Baltimore City Office of IT, known as BSIT, known as BCIT. We are the last agency listed in your packet. I will try not to take that personally. So BSIT, as Bob mentioned, is an agency that really supports the IT operations of other agencies. Recently, we've undertaken what we're calling an IT optimization initiative. This is really focused on standardizing the practices and bringing in IT staff from other agencies and really performing a higher quality of service from BSIT's perspective. And so we've done that now with a couple of pilot agencies, and we're looking to expand that in the next fiscal year. Additionally, we've absorbed the Office of Broadband and Digital Equity. So as Bob mentioned, traditionally, we're not necessarily the most public-facing agency, but the Office of Broadband and Digital Equity certainly is. And so that's a little bit of a change for us. Recently, they have launched the free Bmore Wi-Fi initiative, which provides free internet access at Middle Branch Fitness and Wellness Center and Solo Gibbs Recreation Center. So we're very proud about that. We used ARPA funding to do that. In addition, we're going to be expanding that to senior centers, other senior centers, recreation centers, and also public housing developments throughout the city. So we're excited to do that and close the digital divide, as we know is such a priority for this administration. Additionally, in terms of what we're looking to do in FY25, where we really view all of the residents, all of the visitors, all of the businesses as our customers. And so we've done some substantial investments in infrastructure over the last couple of years. And what we're really looking to do now is to focus a little bit more on applications, right? How do we make the lives of our customers easier? And so we've done that in a couple of ways already. Some of you may have noticed that there's a different interface when you look to pay certain city bills. That is something that we've worked on in reducing the credit card transaction fees for residents, saving our residents money and making it easier to do business with the city. Additionally, we're excited to work in partnership with our friends at DHCD on the revamping of the permitting system, and excited to provide sort of greater transparency and efficiency as part of that process. So ultimately, we're looking to invest in those applications, make lives easier, make the city and modernize the city, and so that we can be as effective as possible when delivering services to residents. I don't know if that was 90 seconds, but I think it was close. Thank you.
Okay, we're right on track because at 12 noon, we want to, turn over to get direct feedback. So we have, I think, just two more agencies. So DGS and first Mayor's Office of Small Minority Business Development. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Director Christopher Lundy of the Mayor's Office of Small and Minority Business Advocacy and Development. We formerly were known as IMBU within the Law Department. In FY24, we became a standalone agency within the Mayor's Office. One of our primary drivers is certifying local minority and women-owned businesses. We ensure that those businesses get certified and set goals for participation on all contracts over $50,000. And for everything under $50,000, we try to make sure that the agencies reach out for their small spends to our local minority and women-owned businesses. In addition to that program, we also monitor compliance once those contracts have been awarded, investigate any violations of those. With our merger in creating the new agency, we now have the Small Business Resource Center, which is all about helping businesses stay in business, get additional technical expertise and support so they can be in business and grow. We also have the Baltimore Main Streets program. Although we live in responsible stewardship of city resources, we really touch on all the pillars, and one of them that's major with equitable neighborhood development is the Baltimore Main Streets program. We're excited to continue to expand that program and provide additional resources. And our work really touches on ensuring that within our community, our local businesses continue to thrive, that they get opportunities, and that we allow people to live out their dreams in the community, and to make sure it's very reflective of who lives within Baltimore. And our spending that Bob alluded to, when we're spending for goods and services, when we're contracting with folks, that's all decisions that we're intentionally making. We can make different decisions to put more money into our community and with our entrepreneurs. So that's why our work is critical to ensuring that we really grow as we do business, and that we really bring accountability through our contracting process. Thank you.
Okay, DGS.
And it logged me out. Hold on. Okay. Hey, y'all. Get me one more time here. Again, Matt Rappaport, Chief of Fiscal Services on behalf of the Department of General Services. In addition to our energy function, our bread and butter is vertical assets and fleet assets. So at a high level, while we are involved in the support of hundreds of properties around the city, we manage 82 core municipal facilities that directly either house public-facing services or provide a direct support function of public-facing services. This comprises about 4.7 million square feet. We also have over 5,200 fleet assets. And in fiscal 24, we're quite proud to have worked with the Budget Office to increase the investment that we're going to make into refreshing and replacing that fleet, where we've increased our ability to do that to the tune of $35 million a year. And really, instead of growing the fleet, updating it, refreshing it, and enabling it to be able to provide a better service to our citizens. We've also increased our funding in surplus schools management. The city is steward of several surplus schools facilities. That number is 18 in fiscal year 24, and we plan to disposition at least 4 of those in the coming fiscal year. But what we do is we keep these properties safe, we keep them clean, we keep them as assets in the community, and we're very proud of that work. Additionally, we've made an investment gearing up our fleet to transition to 100% EV fleet by 2030. We've begun this work by being on track to complete our first EV charging hub at the Central Garage, where we will be able to support the charging of up to 20 EVs at a time there. We've also procured, and I chatted about this briefly, procured energy data management software Also, that allows us to track energy utilization and distribution across our core city buildings. We're very excited about how that will enable us to target energy investments. And then finally, we have a staff of over 380 folks, many of whom are tradespeople working on our vehicles. And to support them, we've set up a tools reimbursement program, which is actually evolving into an allowance program that puts us on par with a lot of the peers in the private sector that offer that incentive to workers, really giving us the ability to recruit, retain talent, and then have folks service our vehicles to turn them around faster to support you all. So we're very proud of the work we do, and we look forward to continuing to work with a lot of the stakeholders in this room to continue that good work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we heard from a lot of agencies today. You can understand just the comprehensive nature of the types of work that the city does on behalf of our residents. You heard from really the key agencies in each pillar. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it over to Kira McDonald on our team. And this is the chance for you to provide some feedback for us. We do have a lot of city staff here today as well, so city staff are welcome to participate in this, but no voting on your own agency for obvious reasons. But you're welcome to participate because we've got a lot of folks here today. So.
Well, now we can officially say good afternoon. So good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today and making the time to gather together. We have two different forms of voting and feedback that are going to happen right now. So my team just passed out boards there's 2 for each pillar, so 10 boards total. On one board, you'll see a little bit of a high-level overview, kind of that information that Bob gave at the beginning of each pillar. So you'll see on that board, you can place a sticker. You have 3 stickers in your folder. Yolanda, do you mind grabbing the extra stickers from the box in case anyone needs them? There are navy blue stickers for high priority, yellow for medium, and red for low. Use the context of today to kind of inform your decision making. The other option is written feedback. There are also sticky notes in the folders. These can be any kind of long-term goals that you see for the services that were described here today. We really want you to think about that. Going all the way back to Bob's presentation, that 10-year plan, think long-term, think where you would envision the city in 10 years with funding priorities for those services that are so integral. So, like I said, 2 different types of boards, and we're gonna have about 10, 15 minutes to kind of think about this, take some time, discuss. People are available for questions, comments, concerns.